I'll swallow your soul.
Swallow this, motherfucker. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh, the podcast where we dive deep into all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises, giving our thoughts and opinions on the individual films we discuss, as well as breaking into behind the scenes facts and trivia. I'm Jake.
And I'm Josh.
And today, in the month of October, we are continuing our Evil Dead deep dive with 2013's Evil Dead remake from Fede Alvarez. Yep, that's the 4K. Oh yeah, We got the 4K Blu-ray with the uncut version in this house. That's the only. Actually, no. I'm sorry. I should have brought it up the last time. I have the Evil Dead, the first one, on Blu-ray. So those are the only two I have.
Is that the only one on 4K?
Yeah. Do you have the other ones on 4K?
I don't have any on 4K.
Oh, are they all just like the regular Blu-ray or the original trilogy at least?
Yeah, the first two I have on DVD, and then Army of Darkness I have both DVD and Blu-ray.
Ooh.
So
okay.
Yeah, I don't have the newer ones either with them.
Yeah, I want to get Rise at some point, which we'll be talking about in the next episode. But yep, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying fall right now. We're in October when you guys are listening to this, and we know we both got some horror shirts on to celebrate the spooky season. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a great fall thus far, and it's not too cold yet. That nice kind of sweatshirt weather when it's just a little crisp outside. Air's a little brisk, but you're still not miserable. At that point in the year yet, unless you live on the West Coast like California, then you don't have to deal with that ever. So, but yeah. Either way, guys.
You ever miss
that? Sometimes. I hate winter. Winter is pure misery. It is just the worst time of the year. You can't go outside. You can't do a damn thing. You're stuck inside all the time. It's just awful. It makes work more depressing.
Oh, I go outside. What do you mean? I go outside all the time.
Adult.
Yeah.
I'm an adult. I'm not building a snowman. I'm not doing any of that. But either way, guys. Yeah, so we are here to discuss the Evil Dead remake from 2013, again directed by one Fede Alvarez, budget of 17 mil, box office of 97.5 mil, and Rotten Tomato scores of 63% critically and an audience score of 64%. Let me read the IMDb synopsis off, and then we'll just get right into the discussion. Five friends head to a remote cabin where the discovery of a Book of the Dead leads them to unwittingly summon up demons living in the nearby woods. So, yeah, it is a pretty traditional remake in the sense, but a little bit of odd discourse is if you ask Fede Alvarez, it's a remake, but if you ask Bruce Campbell and producers Rob Tapert and Sam Raimi, they say that it's more of a sequel in the Evil Dead universe. Not sure if you were aware of that little bit.
Yeah, I feel like I remember there being some kind of like it's almost the same thing with 2. Mm-hmm. That some people call it a remake, some people call it a sequel. How does it work for you? Do you think it works better as the remake? I mean, I think it works a little better as a remake. I don't know about a sequel.
See, that's the thing with it, because it is a remake in almost every sense of the word.
Right.
Down to a lot of the emotional story beats, a lot of the plot similarities. It is a remake in a lot of the sense of that word. But there is a post-credit scene where our boy Bruce Campbell shows up and says his iconic groovy line.
Didn't remember that. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I did not. I don't think I might have not seen that before.
Well, that actually goes into a little bit of interesting trivia that I remember reading up when looking into the backstory of this movie and everything. And it's something that I even recall back in the day, like back when this movie came out. So the original plan was to, right after this, make a sequel not only to this movie, where Mia would be the star again. And sorry, guys, spoiler alert going towards, the rest of the episode. We talk about the movies in detail, so some of the trivia facts also are a little spoilery. So giving a spoiler warning for Evil Dead 2013 right now. Go rewatch the movie or watch for the first time, then come back to this if you haven't seen it. Or if you don't care about spoilers, keep on watching or listening. But, so yeah, the plan was to make an immediate sequel to this film, where Mia would be the star and have to deal with Deadites again and whatnot. I'm not sure if it was going to be kind of similar to how Evil Dead 2 is, where it takes place at the cabin again or whatnot, but that was the plan. But also to make a sequel to Army of Darkness. So like an Army of Darkness 2. It never got like an official sequel title or anything. And then the plan ultimately was to do a crossover where Bruce Campbell's Ash and Jane Levi, I don't know what it is, Jane Levy's Mia, they would team up to fight evil Deadites together and whatever. But none of it ever happened, and a lot of the plans got scrapped. And what would have been the sequel to Army of Darkness apparently is a lot of what we ended up getting in the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show, which I think was like a Starz original or whatnot. But yeah, so what could have been, right?
Have you watched all the show?
No, so I believe it's been a couple years. I think I watched at least the first 2 seasons, and I don't know if I even finished the second season or if it was a case of like I did, and then season 3, just like that time in between, I had forgotten about the show and just never got a chance to return to it. But I feel like I've at least seen the first 2 seasons. I remember enjoying it for what it was. It's definitely more in the vein of like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, where there is a lot of comedic elements and it's not like a straight up horror film like that first Evil Dead. But I remember it being pretty enjoyable. Have you gotten a chance to see any of that show? Or
No, and I remember being excited for it, but I just never got into it. I didn't even watch one episode of it, so I still have to check it out. I'm surprised you haven't watched all of it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's dude, TV.
It seems like it would be right up your alley.
TV is such a commitment these days, and there's so much.
Oh,
of it
you sound
out
like
there.
me.
Yeah, but you got into TV so late into life, I've been a TV enjoyer for a while, and it takes its toll. It takes its toll. But
Oh, does it? Because
Yeah,
usually when
yeah,
you wait so long, you just get so overwhelmed by all the stuff you haven't seen, and it
I
just
know.
becomes more and more discouraging to watch. That's why it's taken me so long to even watch The Wire.
I find The Wire's a little bit hard to binge. It's because it's not a very
It's a lot.
It's not a very plot-focused show. It's more like character-driven, so it can
Yeah.
feel a little harder to digest. But either way, back to Evil Dead 2013. One of the interesting facts before we get into the movie discussion, the kind of the way we're doing things now, guys, is we like to break into the trivia a little bit at the beginning and then just loosely sprinkle it throughout the rest of the discussion when we're talking about our feelings. But did you end up seeing how much blood they ended up using for this movie?
Yeah. It's insane. 70,000?
70,000 gallons, and they said, I believe 50,000 of that was in that final scene alone, which I do want to ask you your feelings on, but this is a case of, when they say it, you definitely believe it, in my opinion, because there's just a fuck ton of blood at the end.
Do you want me to answer that question now, or we'll wait till we talk about that?
Yeah, we'll save it till the actual discussion and our feelings on it. But so this one, I don't know if it's true. We know that the trivia on IMDb can be a little bit spotty, but there was a potential director that was attached to this originally, and I'm not sure if you saw his name in the trivia or whatever. I just have a hard time believing this, but it said Park Chan-wook was originally the ideal director to direct this remake. And I should have delved a little deeper and looked further into this, because I just find it, first off, fascinating to see what a guy like Park Chan-wook would bring to the Evil Dead universe. If you guys don't know, he directed one of my favorite films of all time, Old Boy from 2003, and also The Handmaiden from 2016, both just fantastic fucking movies. But God, what would it look like with Park Chan-wook behind the camera?
Would you have wanted to see it? I'm assuming you would have.
Oh yeah, dude. Just the
Yeah.
idea of those two worlds and styles blending together is just the possibilities are endless.
What do you think he would have taken it more serious or more chaotic and fun?
See, he adds comedy into his movies like a lot of popular South Korean directors, like very similar to Bong Joon-ho. They like to add in comedy into their films to add a little bit of levity, and it works really, really well. And so I think he would have been able to really blend into that world of Evil Dead comedy. That's something that I feel like, I don't know if this is a good segue or if we have more interesting trivia to get into, but I definitely feel like this film taking itself a little too seriously is something that at times inhibits the possibilities of what it could have been. But maybe that's
Right.
just a personal thing. But
No,
it's a
yeah,
very
yeah.
serious modern day take on the Evil Dead films.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of get into that, like my tone opinions on this movie. But apparently they shot almost entirely chronologically,
Yeah.
which I'm wondering how often films do that. Cuz I mean it's not often, I don't think. But I
No,
guess
yeah.
they wanted to just be consistent with where the blood is, where they're able to like pour the blood on the floors and walls and have just be consistent. But I wonder why here they decided to, but like other movies they don't. Maybe it was easier because it was so contained to just do it chronologically. I guess that's probably why. But I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I
I
wonder
c-
compared to Evil Dead how much they shot chronologically.
yeah, I could definitely see that being a factor. Like not only to, it's probably just smarter when you're doing a film like this where, because one of the big focuses that you read, and if you watch this behind the scenes featurette that I ended up watching on YouTube with, just the cast and crew talking about things, but mainly the big thing that they were highlighting was how much practical effects went on in this film. Like it was, and it was interesting reading that like Fede Alvarez did have a background in CGI, so you'd think that that would be like what he'd want to go with, and that's something that a lot of modern day remakes or prequels, sequels end up doing. We saw it with the Alien, or not Alien, sorry, the Thing prequel from 2011, with a franchise built and famous for its practical effects usage, and then you make a prequel, remake, whatever you want to call it, and you just cake it up in CGI and digital effects. And while there is still some CGI and digital effects in this remake, a lot of it was done practically. So you do have tons of moments where blood is just going everywhere and caking the walls and the sets and all the production design and objects and whatnot. And also, I think it's easier on the actors too, because it is an Evil Dead film and it is a remake of that original. So you have each of them getting possessed sort of one by one. And I think it's probably easier on the actors too if it's not like, oh, one day you're caked in makeup and you're caked in all this gross prosthetics, and then the next day they have to take it all off and you're doing a scene where it's before you're possessed. So filming it chronologically maybe just probably made the most sense for them. But it is a cool detail because, like you said, it's not very common for movies to shoot in chronological order, which, so it makes it kind of
Do we
unique a little
know?
bit.
I was trying to look. Do we know the percentage of CGI? Because I know it's not a lot. It's probably like, I mean, I would say probably 90% practical, right? Maybe a little less, maybe 80. I don't know.
I don't know if I remember reading a specific stat, but I'm not, you know,
Trying to find it. Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
not, gonna say that that's not believable. Like again, like you do see in the film that a lot of it does feel realistic, and again, getting
Yeah.
to watch some of those behind the scenes. One of my favorite scenes in the film is when the character of Mia crashes the car in this sort of kind of swampy bog,
Yeah.
and there's this. It's sort of like a. I don't want to say it's a oneer because it's not super long, but it is kind of a oneer in the car with her, and the camera just follows her as she's trying to escape the car getting, flooded with water and whatnot and escape drowning. And it's a pretty cool handheld shot, something that reminds me of something that you'd see in the original Evil Dead. So I thought that was kind of neat. And you watch the behind the scenes featurettes and them filming that scene, and it's exactly that. There's no CGI. It's just a guy in a suit, so he obviously doesn't get super wet and everything, with the camera filming her in that car in a bog. And it was just cool to see. And again, just like that testament to like putting all those prosthetics on the actors and whatnot, the stand-ins and everything, and just again the amount of blood that they end up using. So it's cool. You definitely see it in the film and the final product, which you always love to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, are you ready to get into this discussion, or and then
I'm
any
ready.
other trivia facts that we do have? Apologies for our viewers and listeners. A little technical fuck up. We're still very new to doing the whole visual thing. For a while, the podcast was just audio only, so we're still getting used to using all the equipment and stuff. So apologies for that. The trivia discussion is not going to have the video portion, but we're here now. We're getting into the actual discussion of the movie. So getting right into it. One thing that I don't particularly love in this movie is the Deadites. It's not that I have a huge issue with them, and again, I get that they're trying to modernize it and do a different, more updated take on a Deadite, and they do have some lines that a Deadite would have, but I guess it's more so just in the look and how they sound that I take an issue with. It just doesn't feel at times very Deadite-esque from what I expect from those kind of creatures, if that makes any sense.
No, not at all. That is a huge issue in terms of, it just annoys me that they didn't seem to have fun with the Deadites, and I feel like that is a part of Evil Dead you want to have fun with. So like I was telling Lauren, cosmetically, I need to take some notes because I don't know how their skin is that flawless. It's like completely smoothed over. And I don't know why. I like they do dirty them up a little bit with some blood and like it's like they're like dingy, but compared to what we saw in the original trilogy, I mean they're gross. They're like gross in like a fun way. They do like who's the one character when the one that cuts like half like it is nasty, but I don't know. Like the rest of their face is just I don't know what that is. It just looks fake. I don't know, and they throw some contact like orange contacts in there. It's not even like the fun rolled over eyes, like just blank eyes that you could have done. I don't know. So that's just a letdown. You kind of just want to have a good time with them, and they just seem sometimes just like zombies that talk. And I get that's kind of what a Deadite is, but like I don't know.
Yeah, it's a far cry from what we're used to with the Deadites, and again, I get the whole wanting to change it up thing, but to me, Deadites always felt kind of special in the way that they looked and sounded. They didn't sound like other possession-esque films version of that type of scenario, whereas in this one, this feels very early 2010s horror possession type characters, where it doesn't exactly separate itself from something like Insidious or The Conjuring, which were coming out around the same time. And you're just used to the Deadites feeling, like you said it best, grotesque. These ones look like common possession characters. You want a Deadite to look and sound dirty and dingy and gross. Like you want it to feel not just otherworldly, but you want a visceral reaction to it, I guess, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, you want to differentiate them a little bit from what we've seen before, and that's what they did when they came out with Evil Dead. It was it wasn't like a zombie that we were getting from Romero or quite like The Exorcist. It was like its own mashup of that. And I don't know, this one just kind of falls into that modern trend of I don't really know what that is. I don't know why that's appealing. I don't know why that was appealing to the creators of this movie, but whatever. Some would look at that as a small issue, maybe. I don't know, but I think it's a big part of Evil Dead, and it just felt empty for me.
Another kind of to lend to that and further that discussion is I think another part of Evil Dead that's a core aspect of it is that visual flair, that personality in the filmmaking. And that's where I'm kind of torn on this movie, because I think that there are some great choices in a cinematography sense, whether it's the lighting. I'm not in love with the color grading in this movie, and especially towards like the latter half of the film, I have more issues with it. Again, where it feels very early 2010s horror, where I don't particularly love how a lot of those films looked in a color grading sense. Yeah. It's my same issue with a movie like Insidious, where I feel like the color grading in that movie is trying so hard to look drab and dreary instead of just naturally creating that atmosphere through like tone and aesthetic. But no, getting back to Evil Dead, I just feel like, again, there are some decent shots. There's some good framing choices. There's some good camera setups that I enjoy in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that scene in the car where Mia is drowning and they're in the car with her that I mentioned during the trivia portion. But I feel like a lot of it is ruined by the editing in this movie. And while I think there are some wonky edits in that original Evil Dead movie, it is a lot more forgiving because of that budget. And also because essentially once they get in the cabin, the editing just improves vastly. I mainly have issues with the editing in like the first 5-10 minutes of that movie, but it gets a lot crisper. But then progressively over the franchise, call it the budget, call it just experience, but Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, I think the editing gets a lot crisper in those movies. Whereas you look at Evil Dead 2013 and even some of the better shot sequences from a cinematography standpoint, they get kind of ruined by that hyper editing, that choppy editing style that makes everything just feel very cluttered, very off. It's very jarring, but not in a good way. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but
So I have an example that really made me notice it, and it really ruined what could have been just like a creepy scene just by framing, because they have I agree with you. I think there are good framing choices, and I like the lighting. Like when she's in the basement, I think there's really creepy lighting choices where you're getting like pieces of her face as she moves. It's like very dark. I think there is like a good level of atmosphere with that. And then other times I don't like it as much, and I'm not too crazy on the color grading either. Although I don't mind it outside. I think outside I do like how that looks more than I do inside the cabin. I think it's it's very hazy. Like when she's in that pond, I think all that looks really really good. I think that when they first get
like
there
that
and
part.
she's sitting on the car, I think that's a really nice shot with that sun kind of glaring in, and she's kind of like silhouetted a little bit. I think that looks really good. But it's when she first gets possessed and she's in her room, very scared, and David comes in, her brother, and she's saying, there's something in there with her, it's creepy. It's a creepy setup, and I think it could have been a creepy payoff. And they pan over to what she's looking at when he leaves, and it's kind of a far shot. You just see you see her like the doppelganger of her in the reflection, kind of like sitting down, and then it just does this rapid cut, like punching into her, and it ruins it. It ruins the scare for me, and I feel like that's kind of consistent in this movie with that editing. So
yeah,
I don't know.
No, and that's
trust your framing. Just trust your framing.
Yeah.
Be subtle about what you're seeing in the background. I don't know. You don't have to be so in my face with showing me what you want to try to scare me with. So that is when I really noticed. I was like, oh, that was just that was corny. It was corny. It wasn't scary. You had something effective in that scene, and I think she's really good in that. I do like Jane Levy in this movie throughout. Everyone else I kind of don't care for. Eric is okay.
Yeah.
I was telling Jake a little earlier. Eric is fine. Everyone else is like a nothing character to me. You get a lot of David. He's supposed to be like the main guy, and I don't care for him that much.
I don't mind the one girl, the one friend who gives the brother shit for, like when she's the one who wakes him up and is like, he makes a joke or something towards the beginning, and that's something I do want to break into because it's an aspect of the movie I do actually kind of like, and I think it's a good modern update to the original. But the friend who approaches him, he makes a joke at one point early on, and she's like, no, like, listen, like, this is not a joke, like, she made the same promise last time, the same big speech, like, this is about to be hell. She's going to go through withdrawal, she's going to start having hallucinations. And that kind of bleeds into something I really like, and that's the setup of this movie. So in the original, you just have the 5 friends. They're going out to the cabin just to have a good time and have fun. I feel like that is something that, yes, maybe Evil Dead was one of the first to do it, but it is something that we have seen done quite a few times before since then. And that's you have a movie called Cabin in the Woods, which is poking fun and satirizing horror films. Like, so I think a good variation of that, and to still have them at the woods, because it is at its surface a remake of the original, you have them trying to put their friend Mia, played by Jane Levy, and she's trying to quit drugs. Cold turkey, pours her heroin down this, sewer drain or whatever, or well, whatever the fuck it is. And the whole weekend is about her getting sober and her quitting drugs. And then all the other fucked up Evil Dead shit starts happening in a very similar fashion to the original. You know, they find a book, they start reading words that you probably shouldn't be reading. They find a tape recording, and the tape recording is not as good as the original, so that's a bit of a letdown. And that's another part of this movie that's a little bit of a letdown, is when they do try to do those homages and do those moments that are a little, you know, wink winks at the audience members and fans of the original, the Easter eggs, the references. They always do it at the expense of the film. And even though I'm not going to go as far as to say that a lot of the references through dialogue and whatnot aren't completely out of the norm for that scene, they do try their best to fit it in a much better fashion than something like Alien Romulus, which just feels so in your face egregious. When they do try to reference the original through dialogue in this, it's always weaker line deliveries than what Bruce Campbell would say in the original trilogy. So all you're left is just a line that feels a little out of place, doesn't feel exactly right. And there's even times where they linger on it. I don't know if you noticed this, but the one that really bothered me was Eric is the friend with the glasses, right? The long-haired guy. It's that friend that I was highlighting just a minute ago that I liked, and she's like, well, he's here now, he's trying, and she leaves, and then the camera kind of like pans and like focuses on Eric as he says a line from the original, which is, what is it? It's like, yeah, he's here now. Or he's like, yeah, that's great, or whatever. It's something, I'm misquoting it. I apologize, but it is a reference to the original. It's something Bruce Campbell says in the original, but it's just not as good. And the weird way that they linger on it, like this is some like really important line, is a little bit strange and takes me out of it. But
okay, so you mentioned when they get the book, they have the tape recording. Is there a tape recording? Am I not remembering that?
Isn't there a tape recording in this?
I didn't. So I thought Eric,
or does he just read from the book?
Yeah, so he reads the book, and that's what I don't like. I don't remember a tape recording.
Yeah.
I feel like I just remember Eric finding the book, and he's just fascinated by it, and he's reading everything aloud, and that's what I don't like. I kind of get pulled out of that.
Yeah.
I like using a tape because you don't know what's going to be said. You're kind of just that's more appropriate to me of like curiosity than kind of seeing something like a book, reading it aloud. I don't know. It didn't work for me of like conjuring them up. So that's I know with these kinds of horror movies, you're going to have the problem of like stupidity coming into your characters. There's a lot of it here. And it doesn't seem that out of place when I get it with Evil Dead. Like, obviously there's moments where Ash struggles with dealing with that his girlfriend's possessed. He slows down of like attacking her sometimes. I get that to an extent. David, like late in the film, after all this shit, well, he's still trying to like rationalize this and say maybe it's some kind of virus or something like that. Like Eric's like the logical one, and he's like,
yeah,
that stuff just it bothers me over time. And here with Eric just reading it, I thought it was a little lazy. I wish they just brought the tape in. Just you're doing everything else that the original is doing. Just throw that in there. It makes more sense to me.
That's fair. I think you're right. I apologize. 5 of these movies, it's, it starts to blend together and whatnot.
Yeah.
But listen, I completely agree. They do a lot of the elements that they're trying to recreate from the original. They do it worse. However, I do think that there is, as just a horror film on its own, I do think there are some pretty good horror moments in this, some good horror imagery. Eric getting stabbed in the face and the eye by, I think it's like a needle or something, it's not like a knife or something, so it's just like 20 just stabs to his face. I think that's pretty visceral. You had mentioned, I believe, the girl cutting off her part of her face with the glass. I think that's pretty great. The David's girlfriend sawing off her arm with the kitchen saw, the meat saw or whatever. I get it. It's trying to recreate the original, but I thought that was a fun spin on it. Even I think like if you're gonna redo scenes from the original, and I agree most of the attempts are pretty bad, I thought that the updated version of the character in this one it's Mia getting attacked by the trees and the forest. I thought that was a pretty decent update. Not as good as one we'll talk about in Evil Dead Rise, which I think is a more interesting modernization of that. But I thought it looked pretty solid. It is pretty terrifying. In what's interesting, I think, about this version of that scene as opposed to the original and Evil Dead 2 is in this version of that kind of scene, it's more claustrophobic than the original, if you get what I'm saying. Like, in the original, she's kind of out in the open forest, and in this one, the way they shoot it and where she is in the forest, it has this almost... In the original, you feel like an inescapable sense of dread, but in this one, because of that claustrophobia, of those tight angles, of the brush and everything around her, it feels, again, a little tighter. And I don't know, I thought that added to the scene, and I thought that was kind of an interesting update overall.
There's a lot of branch in this movie. A lot of branches. Like a lot
of branches. But there's a lot in the original too. There's a lot of branches in the original as well.
Maybe it's because, well, no, just in general, like maybe because it is daytime, maybe how they lit it. I just see nothing but trees, which I'm fine with. I think it kind of tightens the area a little bit. There's just trees
for sure.
Like huge, like the amount, like an insane amount of branches. It just feels like almost, I don't even know. So I think that also kind of lends to it. But I don't know. The tree thing. It's fine. I also don't like the doppelganger thing. I kind of miss it just being a force. I'm not big on her seeing herself. I don't like it. I don't think it's as effective.
I don't actually. Let's put it this way. I don't love it early on in the film when it's just her seeing that alternate version of herself. I think it's played a little bit better off in that original trilogy. However, what I do like is I like the whole sequence after David buries Mia and then digs her back up, and he ends up getting killed. So I thought that was at least a nice subversion, because throughout the entire film, it's a remake. You're thinking that David is the Ash of this movie. He's the sole survivor, and they pull an Uno reverse on you. He ends up dying. Mia ends up being resurrected. But then, and this, I love this sequence. I don't know, this is kind of my last thought about it, because I really don't have strong feelings about this film overall. I think it's a fine enough remake overall. There's issues with it. It does a lot of what the original does, just worse. It doesn't have a voice of its own in a lot of regards, but I think the intro, the setup of the film is interesting, having them be at the cabin trying to get their friends sober, and then I think that's a great starting point, and I love the closure. I love the final kind of climax of this movie where you get that 50,000 gallons of blood. It just starts raining blood from the sky. It feels very Raimi-esque. Feels very much like the original trilogy, but again, a nice fun spin on it. It's visceral, it's fun visually, and I think it's a pretty scary moment, honestly. Maybe I'm just a scaredy cat, but when the buried evil version of herself emerges from the bloody, muddy ground and just like crawls out, I think that's a great moment in the film. And again, some pretty good horror imagery, but that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, so I do like this sequence. What I don't like about it with the rest of the film is that it just feels off to me. So I kind of want to go back a little bit, because you were kind of giving your thoughts on what you did like about it, with building this struggle around Mia, her addiction. Mm-hmm. It feels to me, I appreciate the attempt of getting these people to this cabin for a different reason. I like kind of I don't know, just kind of trying to make it your own. But as soon as you get there, you're kind of getting all of this exposition about Mia and David's like the struggle, the dysfunction with their parents, their mom, and stuff like that. You're getting this struggle there, and then you get told that she has this addiction, and that's what they're here for, and that's what keeps them there. All right, that's why they're not letting her leave. So that kind of puts the chain there. I appreciate the attempt. It doesn't work for me in this movie. I think it brings just this heavy layer of seriousness that I don't think works, because I don't think you need it. When she escapes anyway, and much like the original, it's flooded. That bridge is broke. You can't get there. So I think that's enough of a reason to keep them there. I feel like the the drug addiction just feels too much like a plot device that doesn't really serve that much of a purpose for me. I don't get that much of an effect from it. I kind of don't. I feel like it doesn't get revisited much to be. It's a very serious subplot.
Yeah.
So for this movie, it doesn't work for me. It just feels overly dramatic,
I get that.
and then and it just lends to how serious this is, which that's why by the end, when David makes his own like defibrillator, bringing her back, that's when I feel like they're kind of leaning into that fun, almost absurd nature of Evil Dead, which I wish they did earlier, because I like that raining blood. It just doesn't match the rest of what they were doing before, so it just felt off to me. I wish they lent more into the chaotic fun nature, just because what they were doing before, it got boring for me. I wasn't engaged. I only liked Jane's performance out of everyone. I didn't really like anyone else. They just felt like cutouts of what you're constantly seeing in this era of horror movie. So,
I see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree. I think the whole raining blood thing, I think it's in line with the rest of it. I think because graphically and gore-wise, it is in line with the rest of the franchise, especially, and I do find it interesting that you don't prefer the serious tone of this, because the original Evil Dead is the most horror-focused, and that is what you've on record said that you love so much about it, is that it is a more horror approach. And correct. I get it is a better movie than this Evil Dead remake from a directorial standpoint. It's just better shot. The suspense and atmosphere is better built up in that movie. But again, I see where your complaints come from. I just don't agree. I actually really do appreciate, if you are going to make a more serious in-tone version of Evil Dead, I like that they at least attempted to try to add depth to these characters. I like that there's at least an established relationship with all of these characters, a history with them. You don't get a lot of it, but the kind of riff between Eric and David, I think, is a little interesting. I wish we had actually gotten maybe a little bit more of it. This movie did leave me wanting a little bit more in terms of the character department, but I appreciate the attempt, where I think a criticism that can be lobbied at the original Evil Dead is the characters aren't strong at all. They don't even make an attempt in that original film to try to develop these characters or to try to make them feel like real people. They are just kind of there to get possessed, whereas at points in this film, I don't know, I did feel a little bit bad for these people. They're put into this horrible situation, and all they're trying to do is save their friend and get their friend help. I get if that overly dramatic tone doesn't work for you, but for me, it added a little bit more stakes to these characters, to where I wanted to see them survive more than I do the characters in the original film, because in that one, they're really not characters at all. They don't even pretend to attempt to develop them. And so in this one, it did work for me. But if it doesn't work for you, I can see totally it feeling completely unnecessary. So, but yeah, I get you. Yeah. Again, I don't love this film. I think maybe in this case, it is a case of comparison, where I think there is some good horror imagery. We didn't bring it up, but I love the scene where Mia gets her arm trapped under the Jeep or the car or whatever and has to pull it off, and it is just visually so grotesque and gave me a pretty visceral reaction when I watched it. Some good practical effects again, and I know it was my opening quote, but I love the ending where it swallowed this motherfucker and then just chainsaws her, and just, again, more blood and guts.
Oh yeah, I love
everywhere.
I love the kill.
It's a great ending, like, if you ask me. I love
and
it.
that's the thing. I really like the last 10 minutes of this. It doesn't match for me what I wasn't getting early. I just wish I was getting that earlier.
I don't know. I think it has some intensity, and I like some of the kills in this. Again, like, even if it's not a kill, I love the scene of David getting stabbed multiple times in, like, the face and the eye. There's just, like, a real grotesqueness to it, but I get it. It's not an amazing film. Again, I just think it's pretty good. I think it's got some good horror imagery. It's got some solid fun moments, and sure, the tone is maybe a little self-serious at time, and you kind of wish that maybe it lent itself to more of that fun nature of all the Evil Dead movies that came before it. But in a world where we're getting an early 2010s, very serious in tone remake of an iconic and classic horror film, I think there is a lot worse that could have been done with this movie.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, all the remakes next to this looks really good. It just does.
Yes.
But
again, I wish it was I wish it had like a little bit of better editing, maybe paid a little bit more attention to like sound design and some of the technicals. And Fede Alvarez, for all it's worth, I think he's a competent director. I don't think he makes bad movies. I just would particularly like to see a little bit more of his own style and voice come out in his films, where I feel like there's not a lot of personality in this movie.
Yeah.
But
like I said, I think we're just getting a lot of recycled stuff, and I just wish it kind of did its own thing. And the drug addiction just wasn't enough for me. It felt like a way. I appreciate the attempt. It just felt like for this setting, this remake that's following Pursuit of like the original, just didn't work for me. And maybe I'm not remembering. I know there is like self-harm with the Deadites. Like they, in the original, she's like licking the knife. They do shit to themselves. This felt a little heavy with it. Like it felt a little too self-harmy, where it almost
I don't know. No, in the original, we didn't even talk about it in that episode, but she genuinely bites her own hand off. Like that's pretty gruesome.
I know. I don't know.
I didn't mind the extra blood and gore and violence in that. I think if you're gonna do Evil Dead,
I don't mind it.
You gotta go all the way with it.
It's not really the gore. It's kind of, it just felt a little too focused on them hurting themselves more than. I mean, no, they do also like kind of equally harm the others. It's kind of something I'll talk about in the next film. I just wanted to kind of lay that there. That like, I think the self-harm. I don't remember it being that much of a focus. There's like stuff they do to themselves, but in the originals, but it seems like I don't know. I don't. Yeah, there's some stuff like I do like the Eric stuff. I think is the best where they're attacking him. I don't think anything else is really that memorable with the kills of the other people. I'm trying to think of it in my head.
In the neck. They stabbed Josh in the neck. I thought that was pretty good.
Also I hate that David just stayed behind. I feel like that was a little overly dramatic. He just got stabbed in the neck. I think he could have made it out there when he.
You think he could have made it when he got stabbed in the neck?
Absolutely.
Oh,
did you see?
No.
Okay, so did you see the beating that Eric got with the nail gun and the needles? This guy got tortured.
I forgot about the nail guns, dude. That's a good one.
I like the nail gun, but the amount.
There's
amount
good
of,
scenes
like,
in this, man. There's good scenes.
Eric got beaten almost to like by an inch of his life, and he was still.
Hell yeah.
At the end, he makes a comeback to save David. David gets one stab in the neck, and he's like, "Oh, I'm done. All right, I gotta die with you. I gotta die with you." And
that's the final thing I want to bring up on my end, at least. I cannot go without talking, dude. The crowbar shots to the head and the arm and the hand that Eric takes are absolutely brutal. They are so violent. It is like, I get what you mean about gratuitous at some points, but if you're a horror fan, I think you're into it. And dude, it is. I'll say it again. That is visceral stuff when she splits his hand in half, and then for some reason, with blunt trauma to the head, that is something that always gets me. And my God, dude, whew, those crowbar shots, looking like juiced up Barry Bonds out there. Whew.
So I'm surprised you think that it was like realistic that Eric came back inside downstairs and he attacked Mia. After all, he went through. David gets one stab, and the dude is out.
Fucking neck. You're acting like he didn't get stabbed in like the jugular.
Dude, Eric got beat with the crowbar on his head.
We're going too long. I'm not arguing with you on this one. That's absurd. He got stabbed in.
We're not having fun here with the argument. You gotta come in with defense a little bit.
How do I defend that he got stabbed in the neck and shouldn't have gone on? He got stabbed through the neck. I feel like Eric
got destroyed like 5 separate times. He got the nail gun. He got the needles 20 times in the face. In the face, not the neck, the face.
All like non-lethal injuries.
But the neck? You get stabbed in the neck and you're dead?
He
didn't even try.
Do you know how many arteries are in your neck? What are we talking about here? Dude, that dude was
done. All right. So Jake thinks you could get stabbed in the face, beat in the head.
It was like
with
a
crowbar.
They were like little stabs. They were like little
That's
stabs.
one.
They were like pokes.
That's one. Stabbed
the crowbar.
20 times.
The crowbar's
Stabbed
a
20
little
times with
harder
a
to
nail
defend.
gun. With a nail gun,
All
20
right.
times. And then a crowbar beating to the face like 10 times. But he thinks that is less worse than one stab in the neck. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like we're downplaying the stab to the neck, and maybe Eric just has that dog in him, and David does not. Maybe
He's got a sister, man. You think you would kind of like fight through it a little bit to,
And he made the sacrifice play so that she could get
I don't
away.
think you needed. I think the sacrifice was unnecessary. I really do. There was no attempt to even escape. He just gets stabbed, and he just falls down, and I don't know.
No, I can't. I can't. You know what? This is a ridiculous argument, and I will have none of it. Getting stabbed in the neck. Yeah, he should have gone on. He got stabbed in the neck.
Eric
this shouldn't
did
be a debate.
after 50 stabs.
That was little pokes to the face. Those don't
Little
count.
pokes, but a nail gun.
The needle was like
Did you see
like,
those
all right,
nails?
well,
Did you see those nails?
where did the nails hit him? I thought they all hit him in the
Everywhere.
arm.
No, they went everywhere. But that's not even the worst of it. The crowbar. She went from up here down on his head.
The crowbar is hard to defend. That's a lot of blunt trauma to the head.
This is like Blair Witch argument right here. This is like just trying to defend something that you can't really.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is
so
one stab in the neck, and he didn't try. I don't
Mind
buy
you,
it.
this whole debate started because Josh said they don't punish the other people enough.
No, I think they punish themselves. I think the focus on themselves is too much. I like the punishment for other people.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
It's great. There's great
I just think
stuff
they
in this
linger.
movie.
I think they linger on them torturing themselves a little too much.
All right. That's fine.
That's it. That's
All
it.
right. You can feel that way. Either way, do you think we should get into scores?
Probably, because Jake doesn't want to argue too much today, I guess.
No, we've gone over our time limit. We've gone over our time limit. Part of our initiative is to shorten these, because we have more to get to. All right, guys. Well, let's get into scores. Do you want to go first, or shall I go?
You go. I'm still kind of thinking.
All right. I don't think this is a great movie. I wouldn't even say really good. I think it has some moments of brilliance, but it is. That's the thing. I've heard someone else say this about certain movies. I think it was IHE. I Hate Everything, the YouTuber. There are 10 out of 10 scenes trapped in a 4 out of 10 movie, so I'm going to kind of split the difference a little bit. I'm going to give it a 6.4 out of 10. I think it's a pretty good remake, and in the landscape of remakes around that time, it definitely stands out as at least being competent. So, yeah, I like it. I don't hate rewatching it. It is a fun enough time.
Okay. This is tough. There's like some things I really do appreciate about this movie. And I do think there's good things, and I think there's bad things. And I know that should leave me kind of at a very average rating. But I also don't love a lot of this film. I really, like, if I'm watching it, it's for the last 10 minutes. So I'm going to bring that into a little bit. I'm going to go a 4.8 out of 10.
That is all right.
I think I said more.
Fine.
I think I said more negatives than positives. That just things that didn't work for me, that I didn't like. And a lot of this movie is recycled. I can't give that much credit to this. It brings a lot of creativity in the last 10 minutes, and I think I wish I seen that sprinkled throughout.
No, those are valid points. I mean, it is a remake. So
I was higher on this when I first saw it, and it wasn't as good as I rememred. I wish I liked the characters more. I can't just like one character and that's it. They just feel bland to me. Like Olivia, I had to look that up, and his girlfriend, is it Natalie? I might be making that up. I think it's Natalie. I don't remember one line she said, one thing she does except for saw off her arm. That's about it. That's her best part, but everything else, she is such a non-factor in this movie. I don't know. And the main guy, David, I wanted to like him more, but he was just too fucking dumb for me in a lot of parts in this that were just pissing me off. So
His line delivery wasn't the greatest at times as well. David.
Bravo to Jane. I think she did
Jane
very
did
well.
great. She was a very good lead. Really liked her. But,
And I thought
all
they
right.
brought I like the homages they brought in. Like the chainsaw, I'm fine with. I'm fine with reusing that. That's okay because I believe it. So
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, and of course, our next episode, you guys will be getting that in 2 days. So on Thursday, you will be receiving our conclusion to the Evil Dead franchise deep dive, and that is, of course, Evil Dead Arise from 2023, directed by Lee Cronin. So if you haven't seen that film, go check it out. It's currently streaming on HBO Max, so you can watch that before the next episode. And before we get on out of here, I have one question for Josh.
I keep forgetting. All right, go ahead.
I like this theme that we've been doing, but who is, in your opinion, the most overrated director of all time? Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, go. You have 20 seconds. Most overrated director of all time.
I'm kind of between two.
I know which one of them might be. Ooh.
I'm gonna go with.
Who are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go with Tarantino.
Oh, over Nolan.
Yeah, it was between those two,
Oh.
and I feel like I hear Tarantino's name pop up a little bit more of like. I mean, I hear like greatest director of all time, top 5. I don't hear that as much with Nolan. I hear that more with like, I think casual film watchers. I'll hear that with Nolan, but yeah, Tarantino for me.
That's a tough one. I think
I
think
like
the
Tarantino
hate
more as a
for-
writer, I think, than a director. Slightly more as a writer.
I think his movies are extremely well directed, but I guess
I
we'll
do
just
too.
have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, so let me clarify before this slander happens. This is not me saying I don't think Tarantino is great. It's in reference to people saying he's the greatest. I think
I
he's
don't
pretty
think
far
I
from
don't
the
think
greatest.
I don't think he's the greatest. I think I would not argue if someone tried to make a case for him being top 10 of all time.
I'm fine with that, but I hear
that's the
higher
thing.
praise.
I don't see a lot of people who have watched a lot of film, especially foreign films, making the case that he's the greatest. But
I've heard it enough.
yeah, there it is. All right, well, that's fair. I don't want to run in those circles. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for listening to another episode of Franchise Deep Dive. One more time, we will be closing out the series next episode with Evil Dead Rise, so stay tuned for that. It'll air on Thursday of this week, so definitely stay tuned for that. And that's really it for me.
Yep. So, guys, head on over to Instagram. That's where we obviously do a lot of our activity. Give us a follow, DM, comment, any kind of suggestions you want, or any criticisms you got. We'll take whatever you got. Or email us at franchisedeepdive@gmail.com and engage with us. But appreciate you tuning in. Can't wait to talk about Evil Dead Rise. That's all I got.
Oh, yeah. We're going to bring the heat. All right, guys. Goodbye. Catch you
Later.
next one.